And we are live. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday night out there in internet land and right here in Bellows Falls, Vermont. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I've got a cat asleep over there, another cat snoring in the other room. So all is well here. Betty Sue is in Oklahoma City tonight at the legendary Blue Door, Greg Johnson's amazing folk club there. So everyone out there, raise a glass to Betty Sue. Betty Sue in Oklahoma City. She'll be on tour out in the great American heartland for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be joining her, doing a workshop. I'll be teaching a workshop in Texas. Anyone wanting to take a workshop from me, this is my last workshop in 2022, Fredericksburg, Texas, right near the LBJ Ranch, ladies and gentlemen, right near the LBJ Ranch. And we'll be painting outside in the Texas Hill Country. It's going to be a wonderful time. If you're interested, go to hunter-studio.com under the workshops tab, and maybe we'll see you there, because I still have a few seats. There's still a few slots available, so we are eager to fill those. Anyway, welcome, and big news here, ladies and gentlemen, big news. My excellent, very, very tall cousin and his awesome wife, they stopped by and visited, and they saw how anemic the unidentified ungulate in the can has become over the last couple of years. And they have brought me a nice, healthy, new unidentified ungulate in the can. Maybe we'll auction, maybe around Christmas, we'll auction off the old sickly unidentified ungulate. But right now, we'll just keep it close to us in case the new healthy ungulate malfunctions in some way. Anyway, tonight's beneficiary for the Liberal Snowplowing Do-Gooder Fund is Rockingham Entertainment Development, the 501c3 that I run here in Bellows Falls, Vermont. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that we're doing with the website, and our wonderful presenter in town and lawyer and all-around wonderful person, Ray Masuko, passed away about 10 days ago. And we're going to start a concert series, the Ray Masuko concert series, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got to raise some money for Red in the coming weeks and months. So they will be the beneficiary, a fair bit coming up. But we have some people to thank. And those people are our friends Philip and William Rosser, their first time as Liberal Snowplowing Do-Gooders. Welcome, welcome, pilgrims. Listen to that healthy ungulate. Isn't that amazing? Next up, Rockingham Select Board member and general preservationist and all-around good guy, Mr. Elijah Zimmer. My high school and college friend, one of the great minds of our time. He publishes a Substack on Vietnam literature, and I would encourage folks to subscribe to that. He is trying to bring the literature of Vietnam to the larger world. Mr. Dan Duffy, out there in Omaha, Nebraska. I think he's sampled all the lobster roll places in Omaha now. He was traveling around recently. He was traveling, ladies and gentlemen. He may have been looking for more lobster rolls, but the great John Wilhelm. Another peripatetic friend. One never knows where she is. I think last spotted, she was eating Chinese food at the St. Louis ballpark. Miss Terry Hudson. Well, that's much better. Our good friend, the excellent painter, Catherine Fisher. Martha Rowley out there in Saxons River, Vermont. Martha Rowley keeping it real for the good folks of Saxons River. And then out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, keeping those open spandrel concrete bridges standing tall, even taller. My very, very tall cousin, Mr. Nat Hunter, and his excellent wife, the unidentified, unlit, gifting Elise. Thank you both. Oh, I love the sound of this unlit. It's the best. Anyway, tonight we're going to have a little Robert Benchley, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite Robert Benchleys. And now the snap is in the air and the apples are ripening on the boughs, it's time to do an autumnal Robert Benchley. This is Back to the Game. This is about the time of year. It would be a good joke on me if this chapter were held over till spring, but it is about the time of year when the old boys begin thinking about going back to college for the big game. All during the year, they have never given a thought to whether they were alumni of Yale or the New York Pharmaceutical College. But as soon as the sporting pages begin telling about O'Brien Steen of Harvard and what a wonderful fullback he is, all Harvard men with cigar ashes on their waistcoats suddenly remember that they went to Harvard and they send in their applications for the Yale game. There is nothing like a college education to broaden a man. Going back to the old college town is something of an ordeal, in case you want to know. You think it's going to be all right. You have a little dream picture of how glad the boys will be to see you. Weekends 1914, you will say, and there will be a big demonstration with fireworks and retchings. The word will go around that Weekends 1914 is back, and professors in everything but Greek will say to their classes, "Dismissed for the day, gentlemen. Weekends 1914 is back." And a happy crowd of boys will rush pell-mell out of the recitation hall and down to the inn to take the horses from your carriage or put horses into it and drag you all around the campus. My using the word campus is just a concession to the rabble. Where I come from, campus is a place where stage collegians in skullcaps romp around and sing "When Love is Young in Springtime" in 4-part harmony. The reservation in question is known as the Yard, and I will thank you to call it that in the future. Anyone who has ever gone back to the old college town after, let us say, 10 years will realize that this country is going to hell, especially as regards its youth and colleges. You get your tickets for the big game and you spend a lot of money on railroad fare, and that's all right. You've made a lot of money since getting out. You can afford it. When you get to the old railroad station, you can at least expect that Eddie, the hack driver, will remember you. Eddie, however, is now pretty fat and has 5 men working for him. You can't even get one of his cabs, much less a nod out of him. Okay, Eddie, the hell with you. You go to the fraternity house, another concession to my Midwestern friends, and announce yourself as Weekends 1914. My class was 1912. As a matter of fact, I am just giving myself a slight break and trying to be mysterious about this whole thing. Olone Jr., who is hanging around in the front room, says, "How do you do? Come on in," and excuses himself immediately. The old place looks about the same, except there's an odd-looking banner on the wall saying 1930, there being no such year. A couple of young men come in, and seeing you, they go right out again. Welcome back to the old house, Weekends. And here's a picture, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the picture of Weekends. Oh no, there's the picture of Weekends sitting there with the young men coming in and then going right back out. A steward of some sort enters the room and arranges the magazine at the table. Rather quiet for the day of the big game, you say to him. Where is everybody? This frightens him, and he says, Thank you, sir, and disappears. Well, after all, you do have a certain claim on this place. You helped raise the money for the mission furniture, and somewhere up on the wall is a beer stein with your name on it. There's no reason why you should feel like an intruder. This gives you courage to meet the three young men who enter with books under their arms, and they pass right by you into the hall. My name is Weekends, 1914, you say. Where is everybody? Classes are just over, one of them exclaims. Make yourself at home. My name is Hammerbiddle, 1931. Somehow, the mention of such a year as 1931 enrages you. 1931 what? Electrons? But the three young men have gone down the hall, so you'll never know. A familiar face. In between the bead portieres comes a man, bald and fat, yet with something about him that strikes an old G chord. Billings, you cry. Stamfer is the name, he says. Think of seeing you here. You try to make believe that you knew it was Stamfer all the time, and you were just saying Billings to be funny. It must be 15 years, you say. Well, not quite, says Stamfer. I saw you 2 years ago in New York. Oh, yeah. Yes, I know that. Where the hell did you see him 2 years ago? That man is crazy. But I mean, it must be 15 years since we were here together. 14, he corrects. Well, I guess you're right, 14. Well, how the hell are you? Great, he says. How are you? Great. How are you? Great. Couldn't be better. Everything going all right? Great, you say. All right with you? Great. All right with you? You bet. That's fine. Kind of quiet around here. That's right. Not much like the old days. That's right. Yes, sir. That's right. Perhaps it would be better if the 1931 boys came back. At least you wouldn't have to recall old days with them. You could start at scratch. Well, here comes somebody. Somebody older than you, if such a thing is possible. Hello, he says, and falls on his face against the edge of the table, cutting his forehead rather badly. Up you get, you say, suiting the action to the word. It's a very nasty turn there, he says crossly. They should have that banked. That's right, you agree. You remember him as a senior who was particularly snooty to you when you were a sophomore. My name is Femur, 1911, he says, dabbing his forehead with his handkerchief. Weekends, 1914, you say. Stamford, 1914, says Billings. I remember you, says Femur. You were an awful prat. You give a short laugh. Femur begins to sing loudly and hits his head again against the table, this time on purpose. Several of the undergraduates enter and look disapprovingly at all three of you. By this time, Femur, through constant hitting of his head and lurching about, is slightly ill. The general impression is that you and Stamford, or Billings, are drunk too. Those old grads. The undergraduates, of which there are now 8 or 10, move unpleasantly around the room, rearranging furniture that Femur has upset and showing in every way at their disposal that they wish you had not come. What time's the game, you ask? You know very well what time the game is. No one answers you. Well, how are the chances? Just why you should be making all the advances you do not know. After all, you're 14 years out, and these boys could almost be your sons. I want everybody to come to Chicago with me after the game, says Femur, tying his tie. I live in Chicago, and I want everybody here to come to Chicago with me after the game. I live in Chicago, and I want everybody here to come to Chicago with me after the game. Having made this blanket invitation, Femur goes to sleep standing up. The undergraduate disapproval is manifest and includes you and Billings or Stamfer to such an extent that you might better be at the bottom of the lake. How are the chances, you ask again? Is Dirk Willig going to play? Dirk Willig has left the college, says one of the undergraduates scornfully. He has not played since the Penn State game. Oh, too bad, you say. He was good, wasn't he? He was not so good. I'm sorry, I thought he was from what I read in the papers. The papers are crazies, says a very young man, and immediately leaves the room. There is a long silence during which Femur comes to and looks anxiously into each face as if trying to get his bearings, which is exactly what he is trying to do. We might as well clear the room out, says one of the undergraduates. The girls will be coming pretty soon, and we don't want to have it looking messy. Evidently, looking messy means the presence of you, Femur, and Stamfer. This is plain to be seen. So, you and Stamfer each take an arm of Femur and leave the house. Just as you're going down the steps, a process which includes lurching with Femur from side to side, you meet Dr. Radwell and his wife. There is no sign of recognition on either side. There is a train leaving town at 1:55 p.m. You get it, and you read about the game in the evening papers. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you for joining us for Benchley Night. I think next week we'll do a little James Thurber, just change things up a little bit as we welcome the autumn into our lives. Again, you take good care out there, and we'll see you next week. And thanks again, Nat and Elise, for this excellent unglet. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.